Hello everyone, Warren here again with the Peach State Prime Transformers channel, and today we have a big review. Of course, you've probably read the title or saw the thumbnail by now, but you know, when you think of Transformers, there's really two words that instantly come to mind, and that is Optimus Prime. So, of course, we're going to be taking a look at Commander Class Optimus Prime. We're going to be doing lots of comparisons, so I apologize if this video gets a little lengthy. But, like I said, Optimus here is probably one of the most merchandised Transformers of the entire franchise. So, again, we got lots of great comparisons, and we're going to try to see, is this the best Optimus Prime figure ever made? We'll look at the pros and cons here in just a little bit, so stick around. All right, so we're going to start off with a look at the box, because this, you know, this knocks it out of the park. Of course, this Commander Class Optimus Prime figure is a part of the Studio Series line, specifically the Studio Series 86 line, you know, from Transformers the movie, the one from 1986, you know, the best one. And, you know, you start off with this cool action pose, depicting my favorite scene from the whole movie. And that's when Optimus arrives, at Autobot City on Earth. You know, they're under attack from all the Decepticons. Optimus arrives, says, Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost. Transforms, the touch starts playing, and then he goes in, you know, in vehicle mode, and dramatically transforms, flies through the sky, after mowing over some Decepticons as a truck, and just starts blasting them. That is my absolute favorite scene from the whole movie, and I'm so happy that they went with that on the box here. The box also, the front does include picture of the vehicle mode, and of course the trailer transformed in its upright medical bay. On the side, you got a nice shot of Optimus. Then on the back, you know, it's showing off all the different features of the toy. You know, the fact it comes with roller, the blast effects, you know, his Energon axe, does come with the scene backing. We'll take a look at that here in just a minute. On the other side, you got that nice kind of profile picture and the label, you know, Studio Series 8631. So, absolutely nice. And then, of course, the well, don't want to wreck it now. Wanted the fight one to come out, or not to come out, rather. And you have, of course, that scene, you know, it is the backdrop that came with a lot of the Studio Series figures. I don't think the ones releasing now come with them, but just nice and big there. And, you know, let's go ahead and bring the figure out. You know, Optimus just scales so perfectly with that. Now, this figure did come out, you know, a couple years ago. If you watched my review of Toylanta that I released a few days ago, you'll know that I just picked this guy up, and I am so glad I did. I got a really good deal on him. Given the size of everything that we're going to be looking at today, I am going to forego the usual turntable, you know, my little, you know, dinky do-it-yourself one, but, you know, so we got Optimus with this trailer here. So we're going to start with the bot mode, and we'll get more into the trailer and all that later, and you know, when we talk about vehicle mode, and we'll do separate transformations, because there's comparisons on that itself. But of course, Optimus, you know, there's no mistaking, this figure here is indeed Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime as we saw him in the animated series, and of course the 86 movie. Right off the bat, I think he looks spectacular. I love that this figure actually went with the white legs and waist area, hips. Usually that's silver on a lot of Optimuses. Optimi, however, whatever the plural is. Rotate them around. You got all the detail. You got the canisters on the side there. Now, he does have a bit of a backpack. However, it doesn't look that off from his animation model. So, really no complaints there. The colors are all right. Let's take a look at his face here. You can see the sculpting on this face and the detail, again, is just such a dead-on representation of Optimus from, whenever he appeared on screen in animation. Let me flip those up a little. There we go. And going along with that, he does have the animation correct blue eyes versus yellow or red that you would sometimes see on the show. He also only has one Autobot logo on his shoulders, very reminiscent of most media. And his blaster looks very, his iconic blaster looks, again, just like it would on the show. So, no complaints as far as overall appearance. Now, there's always a little room for improvement. I do have just a couple small little critiques. First off, the smokestacks. If you have this figure, you probably know what I'm going to say. You probably saw it already. They are very, very loose on both shoulders. And there's a little tab here that you could tell, it's really hard to see on camera, but there's a little groove here. And they're supposed to fit in that tab, but it adds a little resistance, but it really doesn't stop them from moving. And I think I know why Hasbro did this. If everybody remembers, ever since they started reissuing the original Optimus Prime toy, it's been re-released. I don't even know how many times now between the US and Japan. But the US releases have what we call stubby smokestacks, to where, they don't go all the way up here. They just kind of cut off, unlike the original toy. And the reason Hasbro said that was done was to meet toy safety standards, because this could potentially harm a child's eye. I don't know why a child would have Optimus's smokestack next to their eye, but supposedly that's why. So I guess our options here were, one, to have stubby smokestacks, which Studio Series figure that would not be ideal. The other option might have been to go with that flexible plastic, almost like that rubbery plastic, which, kind of warps, and you'd have, these smokestacks either bent this way or that way. Okay, that wouldn't have been good either. So my theory, and I don't know if this has been stated anywhere, but the reason why these are so loose is to meet that safety standard. If this were to be approaching, a child's eye, potentially, when it hits that eyelid, or, God forbid, the eye itself, this would potentially turn and minimize that injury. So that's just my theory. Overall, it's a very minor inconvenience. I was just a little shocked when, I saw how loose that was out of the package. But, unless you are really messing with the figure, transforming it, it doesn't really, nothing really happens there. The other thing is, on the windows here, you have these little gaps, these little slots, and we'll look at them when we open up the chest here, but I'm a little confused why, we didn't fill those in, or find some way around that. Again, for a Studio Series figure, but again, a very, very minor gripe. The only other thing I'm gonna slightly knock points off for is the gun is usually black. It's a gray here. Honestly, I didn't study it that close in the cartoon. This may be more accurate, but, you know, in the Optimus toys, we're used to seeing more of just a flat black blaster. So, you know, that's something that seems a little different. Now, with, you know, most of your modern Optimus Prime toys and the Studio Series being no exception, he does come with a Matrix of Leadership. Now, again, I was talking about those gaps. So those gaps are independent in the windows here and not reflective of what's inside the chest. So this is very similar to what we saw in the movie. The chest opened up, you know, side to side, you know, when he's getting ready to pass it to, at the time, Ultra Magnus. And then you have this little piece that flipped up, and you reveal the Matrix of Leadership. And it can be removed, you know, if you want to pose your Optimus holding the Matrix. You know, he does have these individual fingers where you could do that, which is always cool. But I typically don't end up doing that. I just like keeping that small accessory tucked nice and safely in his chest there. Now, he does come with some blast effects, including his Energon axe. So let's take a look at those. All right, so he does come with a pair of these blast effects. You know, that would come from like a small, you know, rifle or blaster such as his. It does have the little port on the end here. So let's plug this in. And now it looks like Optimus is blasting some Decepticons. And I just took his blaster right out of his hands. Actually, we're going to leave it like that because I want to show off his Energon axe. So, very simple. And this is actually what you do to the hands during transformation as well. You simply split. I say simply. Split his wrist here. Swing that around. You see this little nub comes out. Oh, and it's not wanting to shut for me because I didn't do his fingers right. So I still have this trigger finger out. Let's try to push that in. You know, sometimes, I mean, I like having the individual fingers, but sometimes, you know, just a port to hold a gun or something is a little bit easier at times. All right, and then you got his Energon axe here, which has come with most Optimus releases, you know, in the modern age. Ever since this debuted in, you know, More Than Meets the Eye, of course, the pilot for the series, it's, you know, become a mainstay for Optimus. But that looks real cool. You can do some really dynamic poses with him. He does turn at the waist here, you know. Get ready to stop Megatron from blowing up the dam. And then the next set of blast effects. And these are, I don't know, I kind of consider these environmental effects. You have these, and I don't know if these came with any other figures, but these are actually for his feet. And it looks like he's, you know, stomped or just landed from when he was flying in the air to, you know, save Autobot City. But you have these little pegs on the bottom of his feet. And you kind of gotta match them up just right. Okay, there we go. And again, you can use these with other figures that have, you know, compatible footing. You know, wear the same size shoe. There we go. Okay. Ah! So, not my favorite blast effect, because again, you really got to line it up, and you really got to look down, but see, it looks like he's like, you know, stomped heavily on the ground, or again, was just landing, and that's the exhaust from where he took off. And the last set of blast effects that come with this guy are for his vehicle mode. So we'll look at that here in just a bit. All right. And I do want to go ahead and preface this, you know, my comparisons for Optimus here. I do not own every single Optimus Prime figure. However, I do own a bunch of them. So, you know, I'm not going to be looking at every third party, every Hasbro release even of Optimus Prime. I've selected the ones that I feel really were meant to fill that void of the classic look for Optimus Prime, not those trying to represent, you know, Optimus Primes from other series like Armada, Cybertron, Energon, you know, even some of the more modern shows like Cyber World, Cyber World, Cyberverse. Not that any of those are bad toys whatsoever, but they're really not trying to accomplish the same thing. And then on the flip side, the more modern versions that are more to represent Power Master Optimus Prime, you know, in his super combined mode, you know, that's not really a fair comparison here either. I actually don't think I have the one that came with the cab. But we are going to be looking at a bunch of them and some other figures that make sense. Just wanted to put that out there that it's not going to be a comprehensive end-all be-all. Plus, I think that video would be like 5 hours long. But let's do some bot mode comparisons here. Now, I'm not going to do these in chronological order, but kind of an order that makes sense to me. So the first Optimus we're going to look at, and this one is a little stylized, the most stylized that we'll be looking at, and that is Classics Optimus Prime. Again, circa, you know, 2006, 2007. You can see, you know, this was a Voyager class. Obviously, this one's a Commander class, leader class on his own, Optimus. But you can see, you know, of these two, this one, obviously, the Commander class, pulls off that more modern Optimus, or not modern, excuse me, that classic Optimus Prime. This Optimus here was meant to, again, be a more stylized update to even the alt mode. But, you know, just wanted to show them for size comparison and what have you. So, going a bit more classic with the Classics line, this was the other Optimus that came out. And boy, is that light piping really picking up on his eyes. This is one of my least favorite Optimus figures. This came packaged with a tank Megatron, for those that remember back in the Classics days. This one is supposed to represent the more classic look for Optimus Prime. Again, like we have in the Commander class. Why this one's so bad is he has this spinning torso gimmick when you push this button, or wherever the button is, there it is. And it's supposed to be like a roundhouse punch, and your fingers get in the way, and it's just an absolute mess. But anyways, and now it's all messed up. But anyways, that's, you know what, the less we see of that figure, the better. Alright, so, let's do the one a lot of you are probably waiting for. G1 Optimus Prime. Now, G1 Optimus Prime has a lot of variations on his own. This is a full-blown G1 Optimus. Mine does not have the window, the plastic behind the windows there. And of course, he does have his classic toy yellow eyes. The original Optimus Prime toy is classic on its own. And, you know, while it doesn't 100% match the TV show, there's no mistaking that is Optimus Prime. And again, it stands on its own. You know, you can like Animation Optimus for Animation Optimus, Toy Optimus for Toy Optimus. And on that same note, I actually want to bring up another figure for this comparison. And you probably guessed it. Legacy, or Generations Legacy Optimus Prime, the G1 version, which is, of course, supposed to be an updated version of this guy right here. And, you know, they kind of get taller as we get to the Commander class, albeit this figure coming out after this one. Again, or, well, maybe about the same time, to be honest, by the time they distributed them. You know, again, I think, obviously, this one being a leader / commander class towers over the other ones. And again, really does pull off that, that more, again, screen accurate look when we're thinking of Optimus Prime. Though that's nothing wrong with these two over here. Of course, we have the one that started it all, and then a love letter to the one that started it all. And, you know, one thing I will call out, it still just has the Autobot symbol on the left shoulder, which is correct. And, you know, I think these look good together. I mean, I think they have their own standouts that make them each special. Let's remove those. All right, we're going to take a look at another G1 figure. This one, this is a re-release. This is not the original. Of course, this is the cab to Power Master Optimus Prime. Now, this was the original version of this figure, was the one I really had growing up, because I was too young to have gotten an original Optimus. But of course, this was a big step in the direction of looking more show accurate. This version does have the blue eyes, because again, it's a re-release, and it does have the stubby smokestacks, like I was talking about. So that kind of gives you a good comparison when we're talking about smokestacks there. Because again, supposedly if that was solid and sticking up a little bit higher, it would pop an eye out. You know, the thing that does kind of, you know, match these two together, and you see it more when he transformed the Commander class, is in the back here, he does have the front of the truck, and so the front grille, it's what people call fakery, to where it's not the actual, the windows on the Commander class are indeed the windows of the truck mode, but however, the waist and abdomen are not. And, you know, I kind of feel like they kind of took that from this Power Master Optimus Prime here. Again, just the cab section, because that's meant to look more like, you know, just your classic Optimus Prime. And again, you kind of see the evolution there from, you know, in the 80s where we were with trying to get more show accurate to, you know, 2020, you know, 2026, however you want to view it. 2020s. Now, the next one we're going to look at is the one that really made me hold out so long on getting Commander Class Optimus Prime. And that is Earthrise / Kingdom War for Cybertron Optimus Prime here. You can see the Commander class is a bit taller. The smokestacks aren't so bad on this guy. They're not so stubby. Still have the Autobot symbol in the right place. As I was talking about earlier, this figure here does swap out the white for gray to be more toy accurate. And just, you know, overall, I guess, bot accurate. One thing that's nice, and again, not necessarily show accurate, because, you know, we just had these solid blue legs. You do have those vents on Optimus's legs in the Earthrise release. On the chest, you also have some windshield wipers that the Commander class does not have. Again, something that really wasn't brought out in the animation. You can see, and I find this very, very interesting, is the Earthrise Optimus still has those gaps I was talking about in the windows. So, again, I guess I can't complain too much about that on the Commander class. The Earthrise one does have far less of a backpack. but not bad. You know, I mean, it's, you know, I still don't really fault the Commander class that bad. Gun-wise, I do have to give the full points to the Studio Series Commander class. You know, this had a much larger barrel and it had this extra plug on it. So it kind of took away that authenticity as far as the look there. You know, Earthrise Optimus does also have the Matrix of Leadership, if he will let me get to it. There we go. So you don't have that extra piece that lifts up like you do in the Commander class here. Let's get that back open. And I'll be honest, those Matrix molds, I mean, they are different, I believe. If not, tell me in the comments. Actually, they look like they could be the same. I feel like the one on the Earthrise Optimus looks a little maybe wider. Though I could be wrong. So, you know, leave a comment in the comments if I'm wrong on that. So again, this Earthrise figure was a seller figure, still is a great figure. However, you know, you look at the red, you have much darker colors on Earthrise Optimus versus your cartoon accurate one, which, you know, I like bright colors. You know, I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, so bright colors impress me. So, again, you were going for this really gritty, you know, you had the battle damage in War for Cybertron Siege. So, that's really what they were going for in this line. Versus, you know, that cartoony look. So, I can't fault either one of these. You know, having them both in hand, you know, and I'm biased. It's my new figure. And, again, I like the white and the bright red and blue, so I do like the Commander class. Plus, he is a bit taller. Hey, don't attack him. So I am gonna have to go with that one. So let's take a look here at two technically non-Optimus Prime figures. First off, you know, when I did my review of Hot Rod, the new Target exclusive one, I looked at, you know, Hot Rod and Rodimus together. And so I figured, let's be fair. Let's look at Legacy Orion Pax next to, you know, who he will become one day. And that's Optimus Prime, you know, a bit different from Transformers 1. But, you know, that's not the focus here. It is the 80s G1 series and movie. And I buy that. I think that is a great progression. You know, usually when they have the Matrix of Leadership, they meaning an Autobot, they do get a bit taller, a bit bulkier. And I mean, you can see the colors, you know, they have the white on Orion Pax and this Optimus. You know, a brighter red on Orion Pax than, you know, as we saw with the Earthrise figure. So I would, that gun, I would buy that Orion Pax would one day become this Optimus in my hands. And then, of course, speaking of Hot Rod and Rodimus, we have Commander Class Rodimus from Kingdom, War for Cybertron Kingdom, and honestly, they're really about the same size. I mean, when you get them next to each other, I mean, with Rodimus's spoiler here and Optimus's smokestacks, you can, you know, see that they really are about the same size, which is great when you're, you know, looking at a succession of leaders. You know, not saying that you can't have a shorter or taller leader, but, you know, in this fictional universe, you know, it's nice to see that progression. And again, they look great together. You know, going back to the smokestacks here and looking at this spoiler, I would think a kid could really do some eye damage with this thing more so than the smokestacks. But that's just me. All right. there you have Studio Series 86 Commander Class Optimus Prime in his semi-truck mode. And this, honestly, doesn't get any better than this when it comes to Transformers. This is just the classic look. You have the stripe, the light gray stripe that is reminiscent of, again, the animation, all the details on the trailer. You know, have a door that can open, ramp, you know, haul other Autobots, and of course any accessories or weaponry. You know, it's really cool that, you know, I made a mention of the white on this figure in robot mode. All that is swapped for silver when you transform him. You know, the mirrors, the bumper, the grill. I mean, now the grill was silver in the other mode too, but just, you don't see any white. And I think that's an accomplishment there. Like I said, the grill, you know, was part of the backpack that you're seeing here, not the one that was in robot mode, but, you know, having an abdomen that kind of comes in at an angle versus something flat like this model of semi-truck, I think that is perfectly forgivable. Trailer connects very easily with this little port here, and if you detach Optimus, you have these legs to where it could just stand on its own. So let's take a closer look at this cab mode. Like I said, just very clean, you know, as clean as you can really get. I mean, you see the white underneath, but I'm not counting that. As clean as you could get for something this detailed in robot mode. I made a reference to other blast effects, and these are the ones you've probably seen them before. However, I just think they were the coolest thing. So they look like this, and that scene that's depicted on the box art, and, you know, I went on and on about at the beginning of this video. These blast effects are designed to help you recreate it. And there's these little peg holes underneath, and it just snaps right in there. Now, of course, it's gonna fight me because I'm filming this. Okay, there's one. And there's two. And I really give credit to the designers at Hasbro and Takara for this. But as you can see, it recreates that classic scene. Optimus arrives on Earth. It's under attack. The Autobot city's under attack. And he just drives out of the shuttle, or steps out of the shuttle, transforms, and just when he gets to the action, he mows down some Decepticons on the way, and then just, you know, erupts. The trailer falls away, and there goes one of the blast effects. And he just flies through the air, transforms, lands, and just starts blasting away. I love that scene. So let's take a look at some comparisons in vehicle mode here. Specifically, I want to look at the other examples of who, you know, who else comes with the trailer and compare those. All right, we're just going to do these in chronological order and pray I have enough space. So, okay, we got our Commander Class Prime here. Going to compare him to G1 Optimus Prime. Now, you know, one thing I didn't mention earlier is, you know, of course, you got the new hybrid, or excuse me, Missing Link Optimus Prime, which is basically the same figure, but with more articulation. Looks essentially the same, you know, standing still or, you know, in vehicle mode here. So, right off the bat, one thing you'll probably notice is that the G1 figure, the trailer does have the blue and gray stripe, whereas our Commander Class Optimus just has the gray stripe, which is more in line, again, with the animation. Both pull off a very convincing truck mode. You know, you can tell these two are relatives of each other. In this, this being also die-cast, it almost gives that that feeling of like, father and son, or grandpa, grandson, would probably be more accurate. But, the original also has the rubber tires where, you got the plastic on the Studio Series. Not that the Studio Series really suffers for it. I also didn't mention this in the bot mode comparison, but, one thing that I think any modern Optimus Prime is going to have over the G1 figure is the fact that you can fold the fists in versus them being removable and, easily lost, because they plug into the headlights here in bot mode, if you didn't know that. Sticking, with G1, we are going to take a look at Power Master Optimus Prime. Not the full thing with all the guns. I just want to look at the nice, clean trailer for comparison. Now, of course, you have Haikyuu, the Power Master, in there. Let's see. Will he come out easily? Sometimes he gets stuck in my copy. Well, I don't really want to break anything, so we're just going to leave him in there. Again, this went more in line with the toy of the blue, thicker blue stripe with a little bit of gray. Of course, the Super Robot mode arms are up there. And again, I mean, you can still see that, they're both Optimus Prime. Size-wise, let me pick you up here. You can see they're about the same length. Hang on. There we go. About the same length. So, if you don't have Commander Class Prime, but you have a version of Power Master Prime, there's your length comparison. And actually, let's go back and do that with the original mold here. Here we have those smokestacks going all awry again. So, again, the original does sit a little bit shorter when you get back here. Not a whole lot. The cab is noticeably smaller, though. And then last but not least, and we're going to see a lot of differences here, we're going to look at our Earthrise Optimus again. Now, it was a big deal when this Optimus came out that he even had a trailer. The trailer itself, and there was a lot of critiques at the time about how small it is. And then we got that trailer on so many different toys and variations. People are probably tired of that trailer now, but you can see it is so much smaller. And again, when we look at that truck cab, the Earthrise is a bit smaller there. So, still looks great, by comparison. Again, they're both Optimus. This has this big band around it that's gray. The Commander Class does not have that. I do miss it a little, but honestly, until I saw it here, I didn't even think about it. So that's going to be those two. And what's interesting is, you know what? We'll save that for final thoughts here. In a couple of remarks about this figure. But now let's take a look at the trailer and other accessories by comparison. All right, we're going to do this comparison from the sky. So I have Earthrise Optimus Prime's trailer, Studio Series, and G1. I don't have the Power Master one up here because it's completely different when you transform it. But, these three are a good comparison. The G1, again, as a couple notes, I don't have the ramp because, again, I don't have the door. Also missing a missile. But, when you compare that one to the Commander Class figure, the first thing that you notice is Roller. Is, of course, dark blue in the original release, and then silver here. Now, Roller did not appear in Transformers the movie, But if you're going all out making a Commander Class Optimus Prime, Studio Series or not, you gotta include Roller, just like you gotta include, you know, this mech droid or whatever, you know, you want to call it there. The other thing, now, as far as it being different colors, I would have to go back and watch more than meets the eye. I'm pretty sure he was silver. But again, that's something I need to confirm now. One thing you notice is the original Roller had this little camera here to make him a kind of a spy. That accessory does not come with the Commander class, which I was a little surprised about because of how small it is. What they really expect you to do, and this is what they show on the back of the box, is just plugging Optimus's gun. So he could be an extra, I guess, you know, little tank, or deliver Optimus's gun if he left it in his trailer. Also on the original release, you had this launch mechanism, which I'm not going to do because, you know, it's kind of an old toy. You push it back, push this lever here, and then it would shoot Roller, you know, forward and down the ramp. That is also absent from the Commander class, which I'm fine with. You know, it's just something that's going to get worn out over time. And, you know, it was very much a feature of the original, though it was cool. Also comparing the original, again, this mech is, or I guess maybe you want to call him the medical droid, is a bit bigger, you know, when you compare them side by side to the Commander class. And I do like that orange cockpit on the original where, you know, it is smaller, but you do have a little blue one here. You still got the same antennas and the arms. You have these stickers on the original, which, you know, seem to be replicated in the molded on details of the Commander class. You do have these two little gun seats in the back section of the original trailer, which are pretty absent. I mean, you could tell there's some molded on detail right here, where they do try to replicate that or pay homage to it. But then, you know, you got your clips on here to help store, like, the blast effects, which, speaking of the blast effects, you know, you can use those, you know, on the gun with Roller, or use two of these, and insert them on either side here to look like that mech is blasting. Coming over to the Earthrise one, pretty bare bones, no Roller, of course, which I know upset a lot of people. However, the ramp here can connect to some of the Titan class and other base type transformers. I forget the exact name. It's something lock. It's like interlock. But anyways, you do have some pegs where you can store different accessories. No window on the mech, a lot less detail, and just some open holes where you could put, you know, some blast effects or what have you. And you don't have the antenna. You just got two arms. So by comparison, you know, the Commander class does win out there. So here's what I'm going to do for comparison. You know, again, it's a comparison. There's no true winners or losers. But if I had to pick one, I would say I prefer the Commander class trailer over the Earthrise, which doesn't take much. And I'm going to call it a tie between the G1 and the Commander class because, you know, the Commander class is a bit bigger. You know, it's more modern. This one's getting a little old and stiff, but just the, you know, my favorite color is orange, so I like that, and I like the molded on details, and you know, they really try with this one to keep costs down while still paying homage to the original, so I'm going to call that a tie there. Alright, so it's really come down to this. So, you know, which of these Optimuses are better? So we looked at a bunch today, and, you know, a lot of them are going to have their own, you know, kind of retro, you know, take back, like G1, whether it's the original or the Power Master Classics, they all have their own special things that make them worthy of your collection. The reason why there's such a rivalry, that I'm going to call it, between Earthrise Optimus Prime and Commander Class Optimus Prime It's because when Earthrise Optimus Prime came out, people were touting him as a mini masterpiece. That they would never need to buy another Optimus Prime toy because there's nothing that could ever top this one. And then this guy came out. So, that's the big thing. And speaking of masterpiece, let's talk a little bit about that. Obviously, I didn't do the original comparison. This is the original 20th anniversary Optimus Prime, the very first masterpiece toy that was ever made. Obviously, they've done, 50 other masterpiece Optimus Prime since this one. I just happen to have the original and stop there. This Optimus Prime here is great to have on a shelf. Looks awesome. He has die-cast metal in him. Does a whole lot, has a whole lot of bells and whistles. You know, if you push down on this, you know, he can make his faceplate go up and down like he's talking. So, I love this figure, and I do have all his accessories. You know, I don't have a trailer, of course, though. You know, and he's very cartoon accurate, you know, save for, you know, the additional details that make him more akin to Earthrise Optimus Prime. However, I don't have a fun time with this toy. Like I said, he looks great in bot mode, you know, on a shelf, but with the exception of one masterpiece, which, you know, is Grimlock, the first Grimlock, I don't find a lot of masterpiece toys that fun to transform. They're just too fiddly, and you're afraid you're going to break something. So that's why, you know, he has that backpack, you know, maybe a little bit more accurate to the animation with the backpack there, but, like, you even have, like, these little, you know, hydraulic movements here. As you can see, they're supposed to symbolize that. So, just a little much. I mean, it's not the hardest thing at all to transform. It's just very big and bulky, and can take a while with all the different panels. And, you know, this one being the Commander Class being a little bit more sleek, you even hide the wheels. You don't see them when he's in robot mode, which I love. So really, what I gotta say is, my favorite Optimus Prime, because it's similar to the animation, and I have fun transforming it, it actually is kind of intuitive, is this guy here, the Commander Class. That's not to say I don't like my Earthrise or my Masterpiece, my G1, my G1 Legacy figure, Power Master, you know, and then all the other versions of Optimus. Nothing wrong with any of them. But my favorite, it is the newest, but again, I just really like the colors, the white and everything, and that's what I was really looking for in an Optimus release. So, the big question now is this the last Optimus that I am ever going to buy? Like we were saying with Earthrise. Time will tell. I do think this will most likely be the last G1 styled Optimus Prime animation style that I get. Of course, I'm hoping to live a long time, so you know, maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. You know, for now, I think this is the last one I plan on getting now, because honestly, I don't know what else they could do. I mean, I have a few minor gripes, you know, these turning a little bit, these little gaps, notches, whatever you call them. But honestly, I don't know what else they could do. I mean, you know, undoubtedly we'll get a couple different repaints of this, you know, maybe Nemesis Prime. We already got a Target redeco of damaged Optimus Prime from Optimus and Megatron's final fight. But as far as it just being a classic Optimus, I don't know what else you could do. I mean, maybe make it transform itself. Well, we already have that. It's called Roboson. So, at this point, you know, as far as this version of Optimus, I think I might be covered. You know, could there be other Optimus, other incarnations of Optimus, other Optimus merchandise that I get? For sure. But, you know, is this you know, drawing the line on their animation accuracy, I believe so. And again, it's really up to you, whatever your favorite Optimus is, and what you deem worthy for your collection. I'm not going to badmouth any other Optimus from being your Optimus. I think this one is in the lead. What I'll be honest, I like them all with the exception of this Classics piece of garbage from you know, when Classics came out. The Voyager class was good. This DVD box set one, just forget this one. But let's go on to our group shot that I love to do. And ladies and gentlemen, here is your group shot. Very wide group shot of all of our Optimus Primes that we looked at today. Again, you can kind of see a, you know, the masterpiece, the 20th anniversary Optimus Prime being kind of an outlier. The rest of these, you really see the progression in technology and efforts by Hasbro and Takara. Again, like them all in their own way. That one, kind of, again, another outlier. But, you know, I will say, I think, you know, an Optimus really, to be an Optimus, like, if you only get one, I would go with the Commander Class right here. He is just so great. And you see Orion Pax next to him, and again, just that evolution of the character is just so present there. They just match so well. But again, just, you know, that's just a small sampling of all the Optimus Primes out there. Get it to where you can see Classics, the true Classics Optimus a little bit better. Alright, so that is my, you know, review and spotlight on Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime Commander Class. Again, love this figure. I think this is my Optimus Prime for the time being. They're all my Optimus Primes, but as far as that one that I'm going to put out in front of everyone, like if I was to pick one to put on display, you know, in my modern collection, you know, not my vintage stuff, it's this one. Just because of all the show accurate detail. A very close runner-up is the Earthrise one. And then I still really love this figure as well. That's based off the G1 toy. A little bit smaller than the G1 toy, but at the same time, I can transform this one without fear of breaking it. So that's a big deal. So again, you know, and they're all out on display. It's not like, you know, but the one that I put, you know, with my Autobots versus just kind of my random pieces, it's going to be this one now. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please give it a like here on YouTube. And of course, subscribe to the Peach State Prime Transformers channel for more content like this. Events, discussions, other spotlights. And of course, comment, you know, what's your favorite Optimus Prime? What was your first one? And, you know, what do you think of the Commander Class, the latest offering, whether it's the, you know, the sleek, clean one or that, you know, dirty, battle-damaged one that Target released as part of the More Than Meets the Eye collection. You know, sound off in the comments. Once again, if you do enjoy other fun videos, whether it be, you know, travel videos, going to different collectible shops, eating unique places, unique shopping, things like that, special events, you can check out my original channel, which is simply called Peach State Prime, and there's lots of fun there, including a full walkthrough of Toylanta. Anyways, I want to thank you very much for watching what I'm sure will be a very long video. Hope you have a great day, and God bless.